so we began to work on the business. And we didn't know when. We weren't actively out marketing the company for sale, but we took a look at everything about the business. We redesigned our website. We changed our collateral. We actually got new office space, and it was the first time I'd actually invested in nice office space. I'd always been in kind of crummy office space, kind of buried in back of industrial office parks. It wasn't important to me because we would always go to the client's office, so I figured they don't care what our offices look like. But I actually found out suitors did care, and so did people who you might be associating with who could influence introductions and things like that. And as luck would have it, right down the hall from us was an M&A company. I became friends with a couple of the partners from there. Now, they had nothing to do with the sale of Tech Image, but I began to understand how these gentlemen thought. And I remember having lunch with one of the guys one day and telling him that I was thinking about packaging the company for sale. And I said, what do you look for in a small to medium-sized business? He goes, well, the first thing we do is we like to have the owner give us a tour of the facility. And we like to ask him to show us how all the different software works and really get in and work on the nuts and bolts. I said, what do you learn from that? He said, well, if they can do all that, we usually walk away from the deal because we know that they're too much of a technician and they're not really running a business that'll run if they leave. So it's critical for us that they don't know too much. I was like, wow, how about that? So if I'm a slacker, I'm actually going to have a better chance of selling a business than if I'm someone who's actually sitting there working really tightly on the business. But I actually got the point of that. It made a lot of sense.
I think that's a key takeaway.
Yeah, I did too, and I never lost sight of that because I really made a point of, as the business as we began to progress and get more sophisticated in what we're doing, I really wasn't involved in the day-to-day anymore. I was really looking at long-term strategies, and by the time I sold the business, we were doing $3 million in sales, and we had our profitability and margins were considerably higher than what they were, back in the other days. It no longer felt like a little business that was kind of just bobbing along. It was an actual business that was following a business plan and a strategy, and so I remember sitting down with some of my associates at one of these WorldCom meetings, and we had a gentleman from New York who was one of the guest speakers, and he talked about how some of the agencies in the room ought to be thinking about stock-based sales as opposed to asset-based sales, which was kind of the model that most people were following. And I furiously started taking notes on his presentation, kept this guy's card in mind, and realized, wow, this is it's like a tipping point where I talk about where luck is where preparedness meets opportunity, and I thought, wow, this is someone who's speaking right to me, whether he realizes it or not. He's going to play a role in my life.
Well, and what role did he end up playing?
He negotiated the deal for me when it eventually, when I had the opportunity to sell the business to Smith Buckland. I mean, that came about from a chance conversation